Great. So the topic of discussion is texting. More importantly, how it differs from in-person communication.
Okay. All
So
right.
I'm going to go over a few very basic questions, and then we're going to ask some questions that directly relate to me, because at the end of the day, this is a selfish endeavor.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get a bunch of different perspectives. So you are representing the college group and
Okay.
the Catholic group.
Hey,
I'd like it
oh,
on record. She is a cool Catholic.
oh, thank
Like
you.
she's not completely lame about it.
Yeah, I'm not out here to I'm not out here to shove your head under a thing of water and baptize you myself. I'm not going to do that.
But she
We're
will if you ask.
Yes, if you ask nicely, I will.
Okay, so that's where we're at. Fun fact too, how Olivia and I know each other. We know each other from swing dancing.
Mhm.
That is where we met. Both very
Yeah.
good dancers. And
Yeah.
she lives close to some of my family, so I've visited her often. But I will say, you and I text more than we have ever spoken in person, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assumption.
So you have more reference of my texting self than you do my in-person self.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
We'll get back to that later. But for now, the basic questions. How often would you say you text?
Oh, every day. Like, and if you're talking like hourly, I mean, unless I'm in a class, it's probably multiple times an hour even.
Okay, that's a pretty fair response, I would say, because I'm about the same. Now, do you like texting?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a fairly good form of communication.
Okay. So just going on with a form of communication, do you feel it should be used for conversation, for quick information exchange, or how do you feel it should be best used?
Honestly, I think it just depends on you and the other person because there are contacts in my phone that I only text like if I just need like, okay, what was the date of that concert or something like that. But there are other people that'll have like a full-fledged like conversation with via text. It just kind of depends.
Okay, what would you say you do more of?
Probably like just the quick conversations.
Okay. Do you feel that you act differently over text than you do in person?
That's another one of the depends on who I'm texting, but I think because I'm able to use like memes and stuff like that, I would say I'm like fairly funny in person, and so like if I'm trying to be serious over text, it just oh God, it's very situational, but
So let's
I
go
mean
back
I
to the
guess I'd
memes
say
real
yes.
quick.
Oh yeah.
How do memes relate to this?
It because there's something you can send over text. Because like in person, I mean, you can get out your phone and show somebody a picture, but like if you're texting, that's just another way that you can kind of like convey your personality.
Okay, so you're using memes as a form of self-expression.
Yeah, basically.
Sounds like a whole other video that I just came up with on the spot.
Hey, there
Great for
you
content.
go.
Now, have you ever caught yourself acting differently? You read something back, or you thought back, and you just go, "I don't think I would do that in person."
Oh yes. Oh, definitely.
Can you give an example?
Sure. I mean, I'll just give state the obvious. Like if I'm flirting with somebody that I'm interested in, I have the ability to proofread what I'm saying several times, and I'll look very suave over text. It's like, wow, how did she think of this thing that like sounds like it came out of a Hallmark card when really it's just me overthinking everything that I'm typing. And if you get me in the moment, I'm like, the sky is blue today. So it just kind
Yeah,
of
see, I think I have the opposite. I think I think I'm quicker in person, and I think the value of what I have to say comes very quickly.
uh-huh.
So then in person, they're like, "That was fast," but over text, because there is that delay, it just sounds like, "Oh, okay, that's just a thing people say." I think the bar has been set too high over texting because a lot of people get the time to think. I don't think, I just say it, and
Mm,
it is lessened by comparison.
fair. That's fair. Yeah, for me, I need to think about everything before I say it because in person I sound a lot dumber than I sound over text because I'm not thinking before I'm saying things half the time.
Okay, okay. Um, what do I have next on here? So the next question is about tone.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you have a default tone that you're reading messages in for each person?
Yeah.
Or do you really try to look at what they're saying to try to determine tone text by text?
I mean, if it's like a close friend, I don't know if this is something that everybody can do, but certain people can read and like actually hear that person's voice in their head when they read things. That's what I do with like my close friends, and the people like friends and family and stuff like that when I read their text. I have to say that I am a little like sometimes like if it's somebody that I don't like that's texting me, I'm like, and I can kind of read it in more of like a pointed tone than maybe it was intended or something. I think the one thing that's bad about texting is your tone can very easily be misconstrued. But I would just say if it's just people who I normally text, I just kind of read it in their voice, and if something seems weird or pointed, I'll just ask them about it instead of assuming.
Okay. What default tone do you usually read when you read my texts?
Yours?
Yes.
Um, I mean, it just kind of depends on what you're talking to me about. Because I always pictured you with your eyebrows raised a little bit, just kind of like waiting for what I'm going to say in response. Because I think a lot of times, like what you say is more for the reaction of the other person than like what you're actually, like the point you're actually trying to get across. Like with me, just with me, how I feel.
Okay.
Um, and so like sometimes I just kind of picture you like, so like you kind of toy with me
I do
sometimes.
say
You
that
know
a
what I mean?
lot. I do say quite a bit. That's a catchphrase of mine.
Yeah, it's with you it just kind of seems like playful banter most of the time, unless I can tell that you're actually like being serious about something, like asking me to interview.
Okay. So you could tell this was serious.
Yeah.
Ha, little did you know, it's all for the memes.
Cool. Okay.
Um, so that'll go back to one of the initial reasons I wanted to discuss this with people is because
Hmm.
I've had several occasions where I have been told how things I say in text come across are completely misconstrued.
Hmm.
I've been told several times I sound very mean when I text.
Hmm.
Um, and I have even had anything from a disagreement to a falling out based on something I have said over text that upon further examination, I don't think was what they, or what I intended was not what they thought I said.
Okay.
So do you think I ever sound mean over text versus in person?
I think you sound mean over text and in person, but it's like exactly, you're laughing. It's not, I don't think
Okay.
it's necessarily intentional. I mean, obviously there's going to be some truth in humor, but like you rag on me all the time, and I
Okay.
don't think it's personal because I am sensitive, but I laugh at it. So I
Okay.
know that hopefully you're not actually being mean, which I don't think you are.
Okay. That's good to know.
Mhm.
I don't, I'm trying to think. Nah, for you, I don't ever want to be mean. For you, at
No,
least.
no, because
So that's good to,
too
so,
sweet for that. Like, I'm not
okay.
gonna throw it back at you. I'm just gonna get sad.
Okay. It's good. Good to know if I ever need to make Olivia sad.
Cool.
Just for reference, if I want to do that, what are your biggest insecurities?
No, absolutely. Okay, next question. That's not related to this.
um, okay, well then you said I can be pretty similar, but have you ever noticed anybody specifically that you're like, this person was very different over the phone, or this person is very different in person?
Oh, I mean, I had Bumble for a while, and I would go on Bumble dates, and the guys would be like so clever and witty, and I was like, oh my gosh, like wow, they're so sweet and thoughtful, and then I'd go on the date, and they're just like, yeah, like no, like just dead,
The
like
sky is
I
blue. Yeah, yeah, I've heard this all
yeah,
before.
no, like just kind of like flat line conversation, which I've been guilty of like sitting around like with a group of friends on my phone and having them edit what I say. I don't really do that anymore, but I know in high school, like if I talk to any guy, at least one of my other friends was helping me proofread, again with like the proofreading. So maybe if their friend was like, bro, you gotta get back out there, you gotta like, let me help you with that. Like, I don't really blame them for it, but I mean, that's kind of disappointing whenever they're so like quick and witty, and then you get to know them in person and they're just kind of dry, like not a lot there, not
Have
a
you
lot
ever
going.
thought they're just nervous in the presence of your beauty?
Oh, well, duh, that's a given. But I mean,
Well, you
like, you
get one.
gotta,
Everybody gets one. That's it. That's the one she gets for the month.
yeah, it's, I think after a certain point, the nerves kind of wear off, and then it's like, okay, it's crunch time, buddy. Let's go.
Gotcha. And then last question, which we kind of touched on this a bit, but I just wanted to see if there was any other example. Have you ever caught yourself being unreasonable or extremely untrue to yourself over text because of that medium itself?
Mm, I think maybe in like middle school, because I think nowadays, like, I just don't have time to like have 80 different versions of myself in my head and keep up with all of them. So, I mean, there is going to be a lot more truth with what I'm doing now. But when I was like way younger, when I first started texting, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a screen between me and the other person. I can be whoever I want. And there was never like a catfishing scenario, but like, I mean, I would be so zany and bubbly and funny like in person, and then I would be like what I thought cool was, which is like not cool. But like I thought I was like the bee's knees. Like I was the coolest person like out there on
Right.
text. Which
Yes,
now
every cool person does in fact say bee's knees, so you're
yeah.
doing great so far.
Yeah, so like I don't have the energy for that anymore, because I'm kind of like a take me or leave me type of person, because I'm going to be zany, I'm going to have a lot of energy, and I know that a lot of people can't stomach that, so I can tone it down. But I just like, I mean, why not just be yourself? Like, who cares?
Be yourself,
um
who cares?
yeah,
Olivia
be
Andrews,
yourself, who
2020.
cares?
Great. Well, are there any final thoughts you have about the topic?
Why are you, I'm just curious, why are you interviewing me? Like, what's like the reasoning for your interview? Because I didn't question you, I just kind of went into it, but I'm curious, like, what is this for?
So I'm collecting data on the topic. Well, there's two things. One's the video I'm making.
Yeah.
The one's like a topic video where I thought it would be interesting to have a bunch of people interviewed. So it's not just me talking to a camera.
Okay.
Two, I thought it'd be good for my own research and perception if I got other people's perspectives.
Okay.
Because I'm going to talk a lot about my own experiences with texting and some issues I've ran into and some feelings I have about it. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
it'd be better if I got other people's, who I text often, advice
Mm-hmm.
or take on it, so that it's
Mm-hmm.
not just me going, I wonder why this happens. Because if enough of you say the same thing, then there's my answer.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely noticed. So you mentioned Bumble, like I used Tinder for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely found that the times where I was texting a lot versus the times where I just met them or talked on the phone were very
Mm-hmm.
different experiences.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
felt I was a lot more successful in person or over the phone. I
Mm-hmm.
even had a girl I was seeing recently who we did not even text. We were set up by a friend, went on the date, and then we just set the next date and just were not texting at all in between.
Nice.
And
Okay.
it went very well. And actually, I had a lot of fun with that because I'm not sure I understand texting in general as what I'm supposed to be doing with it. Like
Okay.
if I like somebody or a lot of people, like I find texting all day when I have the time. There's a
Yeah.
lot of my days where I'm doing everything, and a lot of days where I'm doing nothing. So I could just sit there and text people.
Uh-huh.
But what I found is that's not what a lot of people want out of texting.
Mm-hmm.
And I can come off like as annoying or that I'm talking to them too much, or then also come back to the thing where a lot of the things I say, I think if I'm not there to say in person with a tone of like, then it sounds really brutal.
Yeah, which is why I said, well, I think you're mean in text and in person, but I know you're
Yeah,
just
like I joke around a lot in both, but I think there's what I've ran into is the huge difference between saying like, "Ugh, you're wearing that," in person, where you hear that tone, you're like, "Oh, he's being so goofy," and just, "Ew, you're wearing that." Full
yeah.
stop. Can hit a lot of different things.
Yeah, for sure.
I've also found another thing is when you are actually in person with someone, you're usually catching them in a better mood. Whereas if
Sure.
you're texting them, you're catching them at a random time.
Yeah.
You and me, we went out to lunch the other day, like,
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, we're going to be in a pretty good mood. We're just hanging out, having lunch with friends. But if I text you
Yeah.
randomly and you are 5 hours into homework,
I'm
Your
gonna be
tolerance for my shit is gonna be a lot lower.
yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it. And I think you've been able to tell when I'm just like, not now.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, I wish people would do that because I've ran into so many times where people let me in for a while and then just do this whole big shutdown. It's like, no, 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 just tell me immediately, like
Yeah.
we're just done. Or I think another big issue with texting is like, what do we do about um like the timing of texting? Because obviously it
Oh yeah.
can't be like the same situation of a conversation where if I say, "Hey Olivia," you pretty much immediately go, "Oh, hey Brendan." Whereas a text, if I say, "Hey Olivia," you could even open that and not respond for hours. And like,
Sure. Yeah.
what is that supposed to mean? Because it could mean a bunch of things where in person you would never do that unless
Yeah.
some circumstance of you're actively trying to annoy me to prove a point.
No. Yeah. For sure. I'm,
Where texting can be anything from "I was busy" to "maybe I am ignoring you" to "I don't want to talk to you at all."
mhm.
But it's not conveyed. It's just I'm just not going to respond.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
No. It's annoying. That part of it is definitely annoying. But I try, unless like I need information from a person, because if I like really need something from somebody or info and they're not texting me back, I'll just call them. And I know that a lot of people like can't stand calling people, but it's like if you're not responding to me, then if you deny my call, then I'm like, oh, okay, they're actually like really busy right now. But yeah, it's kind of like the mixed messages are um confusing and frustrating, but I think like especially with like close like like friendships and like new relationships and stuff like that, like if that person isn't willing to give you the time of day and give you that attention that you need, I mean, it goes beyond texting for a lot of people, and I think that that's something that should be communicated about before you actually start like incorporating regular like texting like into your daily routine, what have you. Does that make sense?
yeah, that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I'm done here. I'm
Okay.
gonna take this recording and chop it up and try to make something of it.
Please don't make me look like those people on Big Brother that are imbeciles.
I think you'll look fine. I'll show you anything before I put it in, and I'll have to mess around with some graphics because I want to do like kind of like that thing where their names at the bottom, like Olivia Andrews, college, Catholic, cool, kind of cool, like at the bottom.
Okay. All
Awesome.
right.
Well, thank you. Have fun with school the rest of the day.
Yeah, of
I'm gonna do a
course.
few more of these with some other work. So
Alrighty. You
have
take
fun.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.